Go.
Let's take a look at the electronics here. As you can see, we have a high definition television. We also have a satellite TV via the dish network. That's the receiver on the top. We have an amplifier, a DVD player, and then a CD player. So we'll kind of step through each one. The amplifier is set up in such a way is that it can give better sound for whether you're listening to any of these items, the CD, DVD, or the TV. And so I usually leave that in an on position. We want to have this set, if you look at the input knob here, and have it so that it's set to the what's called DTV/cable auto position. That way the TV and the CDs will play through. We have a kind of a small kind of surround sound system in here, nothing fancy, but gives you a little bit nicer sound quality. So if we start with the CD player, we push the standby button over here on the side. It's got a little red light next to it, and that'll power it on. And what we have here down below is a whole rack of CD cases. There's nothing actually in them, but if you're interested in looking to see the labels and such. So up here we have a register, and I have it set to all disc shuffle, meaning that one song will play from a given disc, and then at random it will shuffle to one song on a different CD. And it's totally random. And so if I go ahead and hit the play button here, it'll move to the next position. So it's actually looking around through here and gonna spin around until it finds one. And when it does, it will settle on it and then put it in position to play. And there's a little button on here that says time text. And if you push that button, when it settles, it'll actually give you a little bit of information about what's gonna play. So if we look here, this one is by The Who, for example. And let's see, this is from the rock opera Tommy. I recognize the song. And you may say, well, oh, I like that one, but I don't want to listen to that one right now. So what we do is just turn this knob here, AMS knob, just a little bit to the right, and it'll prompt to go, okay, what's next? And again, at random, it'll pick another selection. If there's something in particular you want to hear, maybe you saw a CD case that you like, right here above the DVD player, I've got a list, and it's in alphabetical order by artist, and it will list the numbers. So in this case, let's see which one pops up. Number 6 is coming up here. This one happens to be by Enya. And again, we got quite a variety here, so you never know whether it's The Who, it's Enya, it might be Frank Sinatra, it could be Mozart, it could be Led Zeppelin, it could be the Rolling Stones. You never know. It could be anyone. So you have the ability here to pause it at any particular point in time, and then to resume. Okay. Further, the volume knob up here on the receiver is here, so you can adjust the volume to the level that you like. Okay, when you're finished, or you don't want to hear this one anymore, you can just again push the standby button and it shuts down the power for it. Okay, moving on to the other items, we'll take a look at, we have a number of remote controls here. Primarily, we'll be using this one. This is for the Dish Network satellite. This one, which says Samsung at the bottom, is used for the TV. And again, it can be used for many reasons, but primarily we use it to change the source. So as we mentioned, we have a DVD, we have the Dish Network, we also have cable television that comes out of Salt Lake via Comcast. So this source button will be key for that. Further, if we do the Comcast cable that's via Xfinity, this is the remote then to adjust once we get into the cable mode. Primarily, we'll be using this one. This is for the Dish Network satellite, and we'll talk about it in just a moment. So in order to get started, the two top buttons here on the Dish Network remote, they're kind of a sort of an orangish color. We again turn on the receiver by pushing it and turn on the TV by pushing it. So that activates the power for each one. And let's see, it'll fire up. The TV, by the way, while we have a moment here, you can actually move the position of it. Volume down. And you can actually position this, you can tilt it, okay, and position it in such a way that is suitable for you. Okay, so we talked a moment ago about our source button here. So right now, we're actually watching Dish Network satellite. If we push the source button, let's see, I'm actually going to, first I'm going to turn the DVD on, so to power it up, so that when I push the source button, and if we look here on the upper screen, the corner, we see it says HDMI 2, so that's for the DVD. So you can see that the DVD that's in the system is loading. So that's choice number one. We see it comes to, and where it reads here, cable 3. So that tells us we're now in cable TV mode. Cable TV actually generates out of basically the Salt Lake area. It has all the networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, and Fox, that we don't have on a dish satellite. So it's handy for that purpose. Systems. We have both Dish Network satellite as well as Comcast cable TV. And we have some updates and upgrades in the equipment. So let's take a look at what we have. I'm going to show you primarily two different remote controls, one of which is for the satellite primarily, the other one for the Comcast cable. We have a third one, which is actually a remote that's for the television itself, but really the only time we'll use it is to change the source, which is this button here in the upper right where it says source. So to get started, what I'll do is the satellite receiver is actually up on top here amongst the other electronics, and the two buttons at the top, kind of red and orangish buttons, one of which, the top one, turns on the satellite receiver, and the other one, if we point at the TV, turns on the TV. As I mentioned, so if we look here, we see this is now on HDM1 satellite. So we're in the satellite mode. So before we talked about changing the source. So if I point the TV remote at the TV and push source, and we'll notice we get some other settings up in that corner here. So this one says HDMI 2, and so that's the cable TV. And if I push source again, and basically don't concern yourself with this particular one, it says DTV cable, and we just skip that and go back to satellite. So again, HDMI satellite. So once we have the satellite on, we then use the satellite remote, and this button up here on the right hand side is the guide button. If we push the guide button, and we can see listings of channels, and then above the guide we have page up and page down. So here I'm going in the one direction. We see various TV stations. If I were to press, for example, let's start with 200. I'm going to press these buttons firmly, and again pointing it at the satellite receiver. And so we can see a listing here, and notice they say HD. This is a high definition television. So in certain cases we have multiple channels with the same numbers, but ideally you'll want to choose the HD. You can see in this 200 section we have primarily news, so CNN, here's Fox News, here's CNBC, MSNBC, and so forth. If we press 300, I'm pointing at the TV, I should be pointing at the dish. There we go. So 300. Here we have primarily movie channels, and what we see here is HBO, and then again if we do this paging, in the opposite direction, we have Showtime, and then we have movie channel and other kind of movie type channels. Further, if we go to 140, and here we have ESPN type channels, so ESPN, ESPN News, ESPN2, and so forth. And then again, if we do our paging, we have the Fox Sports, and then baseball, football, basketball, etc., and hockey in this section. If we go further to, let's see, if I go to 400, so in this section we have specialized sports, further tennis, golf, and then we have networks, Southeastern Conference, Pac-12, which Utah is now part of the Pac-12, along with UCLA, Stanford, Berkeley, and so forth, Arizona's, Washington's, and Oregon's. And let's see, throughout we have others, and again, you kind of page around. Oh, one other thing I want to show you is we do have music stations. We have the Sirius XM. So if I push 60, oops, do that again. So 6, 0, 2, 5, for example. It's one I favor, and this is classic rewind, so that's kind of the mode I enjoy. Basically, it's a classic rock area, but we also have specialty ones. So if I just put these channel buttons, and it'll take me one at a time, so you can see we have specialty ones. So for example, we have Margaritaville, Grateful Dead, Pearl Jam, Underground, and E Street Radio. There's also one for, I believe, Elvis, and then we have other musical genres as well. So if we, again, do this paging down, we can see that we have jazz, we have hip hop, we have country music, we also have classical, and various other, here's Symphony Hall, Opera Radio, Bluesville, so there's all types, and those are in the 6000 series. There is volume controls on here, however, we have the surround sound as we talked about previously, and so we can adjust the volume just here so we get the speakers, and sometimes for better quality.